everyone. Thank you for joining today. Today we're going to be demonstrating the Cruz OC automation features in a more specialized case where we are deploying an SDN style automation that automatically and dynamically configures across a network all the way from the campus all the way through to the data center. So we're going to see an IoT device, something like a camera or a phone, plugging into an access switch and having end-to-end connectivity automatically provisioned for you. So here's the layout for today's demo. At the top here you'll see that we have an IoT type device, a phone, a camera, a laptop. It can be any IP address or IP addressable device. We're going to connect these to a campus series switch. In this case it's an N30XX series switch. It's a stack in this case. And that is connected to a data center switch on TE301. That's connected to port 2 of a Pluribus switch, which is in our data center. This could be any data center switch, though. You'll see that the ports we're using on the device for the camera are a GI305 and a VLAN 30. I put the IP address here, so we're going to ping that address at the end here to see that it's working. And then we also have a phone that's going to get a separate VLAN on a separate port, which is GI306 and VLAN 1000. Now, the steps that we're going to walk through today are at the bottom here. Step 1, the device is we're going to trigger a connection by simulating a link up, which is typically what you get when a new device is attached to an access switch. That's going to trigger an automation rule to go out and interrogate what's on the other end of this device. So we're sending through the campus series switch, we're sending commands to go interrogate what's on the other end here. That process is going to come back with some information. It could be a MAC address, could be a system description, a sysname of that remote device, and we're going to leverage that information and pass it on to other automation rules that are going to look at that information and say, is it a camera, is it a phone? It's going to look at the MAC address to determine if it's a camera. In the case of the phone, we're using the description that we're going to get from the device, which is a Polycom phone in this case. Whatever it is, we're going to trigger configuration of the campus switch all the way through to the data center switch so that we can provide that end-to-end connectivity. So you'll see here the campus switch here will have a VLAN, a QoS policy with some traffic flow configuration, and the data center switch as well will have VLAN QoS policy. We'll ping that, and then ultimately we will configure all devices, see connectivity, and then we can even send an email notification letting you know that something new has been connected. So without further delay here, I guess we will jump into the demo. Okay, so here we have an action group here that we're going to use to kick off our demo today. These action groups are simply just a combination of actions, our normal actions framework. You can put any number of these into an action group to do various things, and so today I'm just kicking this off with a shutdown and a no shutdown on a couple of interfaces that we're going to be testing today. Now this is simply to mimic the plugging in of a device into the network. So we're going to execute this, and we don't necessarily need to watch this happen. This is going to happen pretty quick here in terms of what it does, and I'll walk us through as we do this here. So we're going to see is some link downs. You'll see there that the action has been executed. We'll see the link down come in from this because we gave the shutdown command. Now we're going to give the no shutdown right after that. So we should see some link ups coming in, indicating that the device is now online, plugged in, typical of what you would get in this kind of scenario. So there's our link up. Now the link up is now triggering because of some rules we've set up over here in our automation rules. It's going to trigger an interrogation of the ports that we're interested in. So here you see the ports there, 305, 306. And so what's going to happen is once we get the information, the MAC address or the description of the device on the other end, we're just going to go through an additional automation rule that's going to basically configure that port as well as other connectivity required to give us end-to-end access here. So we see here it's already pinging, so the device is already up and online. So we've already got our connection established, but let's just talk about what happened here. So the link up, when it triggers an automation rule to go and interrogate, here's the kind of information we get. We'll see the remote chassis ID and the port here. And the remote chassis ID is what we're using to trigger our automation rule to say, when I see this MAC address, go and provision the port. You'll also see here that the config on the 306, the information that came back from that one. In this case, we're using the sys description, and you'll see here it's a Polycom phone. We're using that to key off in this case to configure that port 306. So you'll see here, I'll bring up the rules that we are using here, and so just to give you a kind of a feel for what's going on here. This is the rule that goes out and interrogates the device for more information. It simply says when I get a link up from that device, and you can filter it however you want, but in this case we're confining it to this device. Go out and run this other action, link config up, to go interrogate that box, to pull back that information that we want to see. The other two rules are just separate rules set up for whatever you want to configure by specific MAC address or by port description, what it's going to do. So in this case on 2A, what we're going to see is that we're pulling in this information from the link config up notification. This is the data we've got back here. And here's some var binds that we're going to have information on. We're just simply saying that when the chassis ID is in this list of MAC addresses, then we're going to run some action. And so this is where we set that actual MAC filter, letting us know that we're going to do something. And here are the actions we're going to do. We're going to go configure a QoS policy. We're going to go ahead and assign ports to the VLAN. We're going to do TFA and then send an email. Here's an example of what the email might look like. Now you can put all sorts of information in these emails. So we've already got information about the devices. We can add additional information, but in its simplest form here, we're going to see the information. This happens to be the phone. We're seeing the rule was triggered by this event processing rule for the phones. And here you see the var binds and the port and the actual sys description that we were able to determine what's on the other end there. This is indicating that, hey, we have configured this port. And similarly with the cameras, we have the port and we also have the MAC address that we've detected. And above here you see the rule for the camera, the rule that was triggered. So as we look at this, rule that kicks things off here, just wanted to show you here, again, these what we're keying off of. This happens to be for the phone. It has to be a little bit different. We're doing by MAC address or the description there. And again, it's doing the same thing. Configuring QoS, VLAN, and here's how you set these values per rule. You can just actually put the attributes of the action right into the rule here, and this is what tells it what to go and provision. So here's our phone policy that's going to get deployed to that interface. So down here we can run some action scripts, again, just in a grouping here to show us what got provisioned. So we're running just a series of show commands, show the policy, show the VLAN across the interfaces, and then the interfaces. So we'll go ahead and execute that, and it's going to return that information. We could go look on the command line of the device, but we'll just use the product here to run an action script to run multiple actions to give us the output of what just happened. And so here we see the QoS policy. So this is the script results are up here at the top, and you'll see the policy. The demo phone policy was, this is basically just showing us that map, and actually both of them. And you'll see the configuration here. There's demo camera policy, and it has similar settings, but it's a different policy. And then you'll see here that they're assigned to GIZ 305 and 306. Those ports are up, and there's the policy names associated to those. Moving down to the VLANs, we're seeing, we're just doing a show VLAN. This is against the campus switch right now. We're seeing the VLANs being provisioned for 30 on ports GI 305, and there's 306 and VLAN 1000. And then finally the interfaces, we're seeing what's got put on these interfaces. So we're just running a show running config GI 305 and 306. We can see the service policy here, QoS policy 30. We see the traffic flow configuration if we want to gather traffic flow data there. And then we're also seeing the description here that was put on by the automation, and then the switch port access VLAN 30. Similarly with the GI 306 on the phone, we're seeing a different policy for the phone. We're seeing similar traffic flow data, then the description is here, and then we got access VLAN 1000. So let's take a look at the actual devices just to kind of confirm what we've seen here. So we're just doing an show interface on these interfaces here. So let's just do a show run interface GI 305 and 306 here. Here's we're seeing it again. Right on the box here, the configuration for the port, and then here's 305 and 306. So now let's go look at the Pluribus. And so here we're just doing a VLAN show, and we're seeing the VLANs here configured, demo camera VLAN, we've got the phone VLAN, and we can do a vFlow show to see the policies that are configured here. We have the phone policy, and then we've got the camera policy, both enabled. This is the actual policy applied to port 2 that we talked about earlier. Now let's go ahead and ping that. So now we see we have that end-to-end connectivity all the way from the data center through the endpoint device. Okay, let's review what we did here. We have a phone and camera that are plugging into the access switches, which are on port G0305 and 306. This is an N30XX Dell switch, and then on the data center side, we have a S6010ON with Pluribus installed. And as a new device is detected, the campus side of the switch is configured for VLAN, QoS policy, and traffic flow, as well as the configuration required through the data center for the VLAN QoS policy as well. And as we saw, we were able to ping end-to-end from the data center all the way through to the endpoint device. I want to thank you for watching this demonstration of Cruz Automation in action. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at doradosoftware.com. Thank you.